itself, really stupid fall. It was a technical part of the climb, and I just didn't have enough momentum coming into the part. The rear differential, and it increases the natural crawling torque. Not that it's increasing the torque figure, it's just making it a little bit more ready for disbursement, if you will. So I'm gonna find myself most of the time riding the brakes to keep the car slow and in control. So really the thing with doing off-roading, especially in tight places, is as slow as possible but just fast enough to make it. So we're now going to be seeing a 70-degree incline. It's going to be pretty much vertical as we start climbing the hill. Chris is stopping on the hill to show us what it looks like with the sunroof on the top of the car with the roof transport system on there, so you can put some extra luggage up top. But this is a bone stock Porsche Cayenne S. It's basically the same car you'd buy at the showroom, and 420 horsepower, 421 pound-feet of torque. Look at that sport exhaust system. So if I let go of the brakes right now, you see it's actually going to start crawling pretty quickly. I'm not even touching the gas. It's going to crawl to about right here, and I'm just going to stop and wait for Chris to start going down the hill. It's going to feel like we're about to ascend into the heavens because of how steep this is. Yeah, so day one on the job, I'm like looking at it like, there's no knobby tires, there's no long trails to smooth. How is this going to do that? And then they showed me something like this. So 70-degree incline, just smooth little squeeze of the power. Now, some people like chicken out on a hill climb. You're not supposed to be. What if I chicken out and let go of the gas pedal? It caught us right there on the hill. So I'm just literally sitting here in the seat right now.
I feel like we're sitting in the space shuttle.
I know, like we're about to blast off into the stratosphere. But it's great on date night. You know, you can open the sunroof and watch some airplanes go by.
Yeah, really.
But it is a little chilly out, and I want to keep you fellas warm, so I'm going to close that. But how do I get out of this precarious situation? I just feed it a small amount of throttle. So with Porsche Traction Management, our all-wheel drive system, feeding the throttle, here we go. Ready, let's climb. No roll back, no real slip. All right, we're at the top of the hill. We're about to go down the steepest descent on the facility, so I'm going to activate hill descent control, which will help govern the speed of the vehicle down the hill. It's already sensing that there's a big drop ahead of us, but what it does, it actually works with the parking brake to help limit our speed. So I'm going to let go of the brake pedal and let it do the work for me as it goes down the hill. So look, Ma, no hands. Pretty civilized. It's actually kind of guiding itself down the hill, but it's really best reference if you guide it yourself. And it's just taxiing down the hill. Now, if I were using cruise control and I push that forward, I can actually set it to go a little faster down the hill. But quite frankly, you don't want it to drop down the hill too quickly, because if you reach the bottom too fast, it can bottom out the suspension just in any vehicle. All right, so I'm going to turn off descent control and take over with the brake pedal myself. Coming to the scissor bridge. So as you can see with Chris climbing into the scissor bridge, definitely not a spot you want to turn your wheels a whole lot, but you can see how the suspension articulates. It's trying to put a lot of flex on the frame and the chassis. The way this vehicle is built, it's called a unibody construction. Unibody meaning that everything with A, B, C pillars, everything around us is bonded together into one shell with chemicals and resins, as opposed to like nuts and bolts and rivets, which those are more prone to break. So I'm kind of inspired by nature. This is almost kind of like a big turtle shell. It's super strong, super safe and rigid. So if in the event we were to find ourselves going belly up, it's going to maintain a lot of its structural rigidity.
What's the entry angle on the car? You know?
What do you mean? It's coming in to this?
So the entry, the approach angle. What kind of degree can it take on approach?
Oh, good question. We're gonna see that later on. I'll try to get you the actual figure of that. Chris might know that, but we're gonna get to where we're about to touch the ground on one of these hills. But at this point, I could put it in park. We can all open our doors to try to reduce rigidity, but the chassis and frame won't flex or twist. It's extremely well.
You can't even tell that the wheels are like a foot, 1 foot, or a foot higher on one side than the other.
Oh no. Now you will feel a little bump from the right rear as I ease down the hill. All right. now we're coming up to our articulation canyon, getting to see Porsche traction management and our all-wheel drive system at play. So these first two humps, the suspension really kind of soaks it up. You kind of notice it there just by noticing the pitch and the change in the nose of the vehicle. But this is the first one that's going to give me the best resistance. Well, push me back. So now I'm going to squeeze a little throttle and climb up and reach a point where we're slightly between two tires, still touching a little bit on the left front. So as I catch it with the brakes and ease it down gently, I'm going to come to the next articulation hump. So we can try to put two tires in the air for a second. Kind of teetering between two.
You can feel it.
But we're going to come up to probably the best set of humps. There we go. Nice. Oh man, it's that burger I had at lunch. I can balance this out. Kind of a tough challenge. It's always fun to see the balance between the two.
Do you guys have a seesaw?
No, we do it in Los Angeles.
Seesaws are fun.
Yeah, it's really cool to see if you can balance it right there in the middle.
I did it once in my Disco 2.
Nice. Yeah, I love the Disco.
But we played with internal weight transfer to make it happen.
People were in the car
So
kind of.
my buddies and I were like, "Hey, we're gonna get it. We did."
Yeah, we'll do that every now and then. We'll see if we can, like shift to one side or the other, kind of rock the boat.
Yeah.
We might play with that. So now we're about to take a really steep turn to the right.
Right.
And I'm not really changing anything up in my off-road settings. I'm in the highest ride setting. I've got the rear diff locked. So you're going to feel some of the ground displacing beneath us. Just going to feed it smooth yet consistent throttle. As we go around the hill, you're going to feel it teeter just a little bit. Turning. Climbing with really no drama. I'm utilizing the sight poles here. We're going to start to drop back in to the left here. Just a little bit. And as you feel, the right rear tire now is going to start to try to come up into the air. So when I put it in off-road mode, beyond changing the engine mapping and the ride height of the vehicle and locking the rear diff, it makes the brake pedal much more sensitive. So you can feel me kind of just moving my foot like a degree or two on the pedal there. So we're going to come into the water crossing, which is about 2 feet deep, so definitely don't open your door. But the way the nose and the front skid plate on the Cayenne is shaped, it actually looks like the front end of a flat bottom boat or something like that. So it's really good at creating bow wake. Bow wake is ultimately how you displace the water from the nose of the vehicle and drive in ultimately shallower water. So as I just drop the nose in, you see the ripple effect. Still feeling the bounce a little bit. I do have it in the stiff rebound right here. Look at your I like to see the track going up the hill. So while the tires are wet, it's cold out, I can still accelerate up the hill with really no drama and no true slip. So as we start approaching the hill, I'm just going to start to bring in a little bit more power. King of the world. And what amazes me is it's on bone stock tires. Now if you've been off-roading in Land Rovers before, you've probably heard the sound of wet brakes. Yes or no?
I have not. Yeah.
So we might hear them here, but I do my best to try to feather off the point when I start to feel. There's actually a slight vibration that you can feel in the brake pedal when there's water between the pad and the rotor. So I'm just trying to avoid that by feathering out of the brake just a little bit. So on the fly, utilizing this rocker switch, I can drop the ride height just a couple inches. Lower our center of gravity for our next obstacle. Now this is the one where we don't want to do a lot of internal weight displacement. We want to
be on the low side.
Yeah, well, you'll be fine where you are. We just don't want to be, jumping all around.
So you think my 6'9" can do all this stuff?
Yeah. I got a Camry that can do this. I don't know how well it's going to come out of it. But nah, these are pretty incredible. I had no idea the Cayenne could do this stuff. So just taking a nice, smooth, soft approach.
Re-entering at Monaco. It's been knocked over. It's laying down.
All right. Oh, is it the Beatles? Yeah, there we go. So I'm just gonna smoothly turn to the left as I reach the hill. You might feel some slip. It is cold and it is wet out. It's telling me it's 37 degrees. I honestly believe that it is chilly. So I'm just riding the brakes just to keep it nice and soft all the way around. Now, if I do this abruptly and I let the suspension rapidly compress and decompress, it can create what we like to call a bowel cleansing moment, or a phone call to the insurance agent. That wood is all original. We've never had to replace it. And so once I start reaching the end, I'm utilizing the flight pole directly ahead of me. It's just above my left front headlight, or left headlight. Not like there'd be a headlight in the rear. But anyways, you can feel it slip down the hill just a little bit as I reach the end. I'm gonna go ahead and start raising the ride height, even though we're sitting at this precarious angle. This is just the best shortcut I know to get to Starbucks. And so, I've been doing this here all week. So as we reach the end of this, we're gonna balance on two wheels for a second. So this is, I always call this my Tony Hawk right here. So here we go, two wheels, Tony Hawk, there it is. Nice. And it sits here pretty stable. If I wanted to, I could put it on a hold feature. This is holding me right here. So to get out of this, I do have to hold left foot brake, slight tap of the gas to release that hold feature. Now I take back over and pass the brake to my right foot. And I'm just gonna come down. There's the wet brake, so I can try to feather out to release some of that water from between the path and road. Alright, we've got a tight turn here. Once you lose gravel, and there's a telephone pole. Fun fact, we call this a recycled materials station. It used to be a Ford assembly plant in this facility, and we knocked the whole place down to the last year. And we utilized some of their stuff. Some old telephone poles that weren't on the bottom. You did not include. Nope. So I can show you that I can have the 16 brakes, the ability to come on and back off to feather them out. The brakes are just smooth squeeze. I'm trying to ease it down with the brakes. When we come back down, it's going to try to set as you feel the gravel displace. So this is supposed to be the most challenging hill because of the slick limestone tab that's facing us. So a little technique. Of course, everyone knows momentum does help out, but one thing that we would use in racing motocross is what they call preload. So you can actually preload the suspension in the vehicle too, right here at the trough, by a little acceleration to compress it. Well, when it decompresses as you're climbing, it throws more upward momentum. So it's a way that I can bypass having to really even need this central diff lock. Central diff lock is if you're in really deep crap. All right, so as we start moving forward, just a little squeeze here at the bottom. All right. So now, this is where you're going to see kind of the steepness of the approach angle that you can take. So you are going to hear some wet brakes. Ease this down nice and slow. You're going to see the parking sensor come up. It's going to freak out. By having all the tires set close to the corners of the car, you can have an extremely steep angle of approach. It's very tight off places. We're coming down a hill that's I think about 55 to 60 degrees.
Yeah.
As far as its rake or its level of steepness. And so the nose is about to touch the ground. We still have a couple inches to spare. And now once I reach level, you can look out the rear and see how close we are to the hill there.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of room,
yeah, it's good.
a lot of room to work with. So I'm gonna turn that back off because that is very good and very sensitive. It's picking up all this kind of grain grass or whatever is next to us. So these are the two biggest humps coming up the hill. Part of our axle twisters. These aren't actually straight axles. kind of independent all around. But anyhow, we're gonna climb this first one. As you already see, trying to tilt with the hood. A little resistance, a smooth little squeeze. We come over. Now we're gonna come up the next one with the left front tire and see if we can catch it right here in the middle. Oh, so close! Oh, it's close. We're kind of weighing down the side over here. We're teamwork over on the left side. All right, so now I'm gonna come back down the back side, set it down. All right, there's another little hump that will engage right here. And now they kind of smooth and settle out. So these camel humps are a great place for us to show the ground clearance. When we have in the highest ride setting, so this is a Porsche Cayenne with air suspension, we have a little over 10.5 inches of ground clearance. So as I start coming over the top, I'm going to catch it with the brakes. Now, if we have, probably two more guys like us in here, it's going to make the suspension decompress a little bit, so you could hear the off-road skid panel protection touch it a little bit. If you open your door, look how close you are to the ground. So we're not high centering right now. All right, now we're going to jump the second one. Yeah, no worries. It'd be fun on my last day of work, I guess. So we're coming down into our pothole collection. So if you've ever been to a fancy farmer's market where it's a lot of this pea gravel, it's kind of a bear to drive through. With our stability and traction management system with all-wheel drive, you're gonna hear it. What this really shows is the turn radius, so I can go from high right back across to high left within 12 feet. And then bring it back to the center before the end of this little 12-foot expanse. This has a much better turn radius than my Toyota Camry does. So one last bit of magic of mine, I like to show hill descent control, but on a staircase. Yes, it slightly bumpy. But I'm going to do my best to keep the tires synchronized on the same stair so we don't kind of teeter left and right. We're just going to front back teeter. So there's where it tries to off sync, so I'm just going to acclimate. All right.
So no pregnant women on this course, I guess, huh?
No. But we actually, shoot, I have no idea. We have some people that, like, hey, I've got a pacemaker, but they don't tell us until they have driven for an hour. It's like, well, that's probably something you should tell us, that you have a chance of
Having a heart attack.
having a heart attack. Yeah. Check out this turn radius. So it's like we're in a neighborhood and we just got to turn around. All right, well, let's go back to Sharon's house. We forgot to pick up Susie. And yeah, no drama. So even during that U-turn, I was able to go from high level to in off-road mode back to normal level for street driving. And of course, the entire time I kept sport exhaust on because that's what you really want.